Chetty Bobby. Welcome to Wrestling with Big E and the POT. Podcast tag champs of the whole world, slamming like a DDT. Got it like just like a figure four. Hulk Hogan, all they do is flex. Talking wrestling while they get the dough. Off the top like a superplex. Think they letting up? Hell no. Dusty Rose with the elbow. From the corner like a stinging splash straight to the face. I know you felt those. Hey, y'all crying out for help though. Rising up like the dead man. About to go upside your head like Stone Cold with the bedpan. Bottom line, if you want the facts, welcome to wrestling's where you need to be. Chetty Bobby, this show improve like John Cena, you ain't seeing me. Bottom line, if you want the facts, welcome to wrestling's where you need to be. Chetty Bobby, this show improve like John Cena, you ain't seeing me. See ya!
Hey, welcome to Wrestling. This is the POT. That's my tag team partner, Big E, aka them Wrestling Boys. And we're here to bring you another episode of premium wrestling content. What's up, bro?
Hey, bro, what's happening? What's happening? How you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling great, bro. I'm feeling great,
good.
man.
Hey, good. Hey, first and foremost, it's welcome to Wrestling. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We have got a shout out to everybody, all the new subscribers, everybody that's commented, everybody that's watched. We appreciate y'all. Keep it coming. And we can't do nothing but thank you. Thank you. Keep listening because we're going to keep coming with it. But
Absolutely.
Hey, it's welcome to Wrestling.
Welcome to Wrestling.
Yes, sir. Part two of the Horsemen today. We'll get into it here shortly. And finish up the 93 through 99, and good feedback on the first one. It's got the most views, and I definitely had a good time talking about it. I know we'll have a good time talking about this one. Some good topics, good conversation pieces for this topic, so we'll get into it shortly. But we do got the college national championship coming up Monday. You got any predictions on that?
I'm going to say this. Before the playoffs started, well, when they announced the 12 teams, I predicted Ohio State to win.
Okay.
Even though it's kind of crazy coming off the Michigan loss.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that team is very talented. And it was like that Michigan loss is what they needed.
Right.
Of course, talk about Coach Day, and are they gonna fire him? And they
right. They was coming for his head after that Michigan loss.
They was coming for his head. But I never really been a Notre Dame fan.
Yeah.
But I like Coach Freeman, and I kind of like their team, and I'm pulling for them. But I think Ohio State's gonna win the football game.
Yeah. Yeah, mine's a little different. I got Alabama winning by 13.
Okay, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
I'm with you. I kind of believe Florida State. No, they ain't nowhere near it. I kind of believe Ohio State's gonna pull it off, but like I said, I'm like you. I ain't never been no fan but Alabama. It's Alabama versus everybody.
Right.
But I like their coach, like you said, and I just hope it's a good game. I don't care who wins, who loses.
Right.
I just want to see a good game.
Right.
I don't want to see a blowout,
Right.
So
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So, but Ohio State it looks like it's leaning their way. So,
right.
Keeping the topic on football, we had the Chiefs win today, so they're moving on, and we had the Commanders beat the Lions today.
Big upset.
Right. So they're moving on. I like Jaden Daniels, dog.
Yeah, that dude he definitely got that special sauce.
Yeah,
he's been doing things. I mean, CJ Stroud had a great rookie season last year. They were doing stuff that nobody never really seen as far as his poise and not really turning the ball over. But this thing with Jaden Daniels doing it's like he's Lamar Jackson as a rookie. But he's one of the best rookies we have seen, and he's been doing stuff late in the games, and it's really big win for them. I know the Lions had injuries and stuff. That's all part of it.
Yeah, that's football. That's
That's
football.
football. And I didn't see that one coming. Anything happened in playoffs, but I'm not gonna sit here and act like and lie and say I predicted it because I thought the Lions was gonna win the game.
Right.
So,
Right. Well, I did too. Like I thought the Lions would win, but I was pulling for the Commanders.
Okay.
Our Falcons are sitting at home just like we are watching it. So, we pull for here and there or whatever. But yeah, I like I say, it was a big upset. You got Philly and the Rams. You got the Eagles and the Rams tomorrow.
Well, hold on now.
Mm-hmm.
We got to talk about that Chiefs game.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, first of all, what the Chiefs are doing right now, I'm not a hater. It's just like any team that wins, whether if it is Alabama, what if it is New England Patriots, or the Yankees in the 90s, the Lakers. I mean, teams that win all the time, people get tired of them, which if I was a fan of those teams, screw all of y'all, because I would definitely like to be in that position.
Right.
However,
yeah.
I am tired of the Chiefs right now. Now, what they're trying to do, nobody's never won 3 Super Bowls, three-peated in the Super Bowl era. And the fact that the Chiefs have a good chance of doing it is amazing. But come on, bro. Some of those, I'm not saying Houston's supposed to win that game, because I definitely didn't predict that one either.
Yeah.
But come on, bro. Like some of them roughing the passers, man. And I was a football official, high school and college. People who know me know I officiated football.
Right.
I was in the SIAC and the SWAC. And of course, I did part of Atlanta area high school, Georgia high school football. Right. I was an umpire. But man, come on, bro. Like, come on, man. So it was like 2 of them that kept their drive going. You like, really? Like, really? It's hard enough at defensive lineman. You going against a 330-pound tackle or something. You gotta rush that guy, best you can. Fight with him every snap. Then you got to get a quarterback like a Patrick Mahomes, who's not easy to sack in the first place. You got to get that guy down. And then when when you get there, or even get there a tad bit late, and hit them, like, I mean, I understand that, okay, some of those hits in the head, and I get the knee stuff and all that. Yeah. I get all that. But come on, man. Like, some of them calls tonight, man, it's like, it's already the Chiefs. Like, come on, man. Like,
it's like they don't need the help as it is anyway.
It's like he getting calls that, and all the quarterbacks, a lot of quarterbacks getting calls. So I'm not trying to say that they all be some BS. But
there are a few that don't.
Yeah, right. But Mahomes get all of them. Like, come on, man. Like, really?
You're right about that.
That was very disappointing. I'm not saying they wouldn't have won the game, but come on, man.
Yeah.
I was very disappointed, especially being a football official by nature.
Right. Yeah. Now I feel you on that. So we got the Eagles, Rams tomorrow.
I'm going with the Eagles.
Me too.
Rams hot. Stafford, he can throw that thing, but they're playing in Philly in the cold.
Yeah.
Philly at home. Philly like to run the ball.
Yeah.
I just Philly defense. I mean, the Rams got a solid defensive front. They're playing some good football. They can run the ball as well.
Right.
But I really think Philly's gonna.
Yeah.
I think Philly gonna come out in that one.
I do too. And the other game for tomorrow night, the Ravens and the Bills. Now that's gonna be a good one.
Now, that out of the 4 NFL playoff games this weekend, this was the one I circled. And to see Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson, 2 of the top MVP candidates. And of course, they vote for the MVP during the regular season. So this game's not going to matter by any means as far as the MVP race. But you got to think, both of these quarterbacks, they are in a situation where they can't get over the hump.
Right.
They trying to get over the Chiefs hump. Now the Chiefs is waiting. But this game right here, like, there's two big legacies on the line, and this is a big game for both teams. For both teams
Right,
to try to
right,
get
right.
over that hump.
Absolutely.
But my prediction, I'm going with the Ravens.
Okay. I can see that. I can see that. I'm going with the Ravens too. I like Josh Allen. I think he's one of them quarterbacks real
Yeah,
tough.
love that guy.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
just like
I
his
love that
presence.
guy.
Yeah, presence on the field. But I am a Lamar Jackson fan. Of course, I'm a Derrick Henry fan. You know,
Right.
so yeah, man. So I'm pulling for the Ravens. I want the Ravens to pull it out, but like it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good game. So yeah, so we'll see. We got the national championship Monday. Got those two games Sunday. After tomorrow, we'll find out. You know what 4 teams are left. And moving forward, and it'll be Super Bowl time before you know it.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you want to take a second and talk a little bit of local football news.
Huh.
So we'll talk a little
Well,
local football news just for 1 second. And
okay.
the Marietta Blue Devils have hired a new coach, Cameron Duke from Florida. Now, of course, we both played there. We grew up in Marietta, born and raised. I was born and raised. You were raised. Do know we had a couple of home guys that played there and have had pretty successful coaching careers. They put in for that job, but got passed up for it. And it's causing a little stir up in the community.
Mm.
And we ain't got to go into detail. We ain't got to use no names. And
well,
if you don't want to, but I'm just gonna go ahead. Go ahead. I want to hear what you got to say about it. And I know we didn't plan on talking about this, and I kind of put you on the spot.
Well, my opinion, I'm not gonna sit here and lie. I didn't do a lot of research about the new coach. Congratulations to that gentleman. Hopefully he can turn the program around.
Right.
But as far as the hiring process, I really don't speak on that a whole lot either because I don't know exactly how they do that. I do know that one gentleman who we very close to did apply for that position, and he got passed over
again.
So
again.
And I don't know. I don't talk to this gentleman all the time. Good guy. I don't know how he feels about it. I'm sure he's will obviously be disappointed, but I'm hearing some crazy stuff, social media,
yeah,
about that. So I kind of like want to stay away from that, because I don't want to disrespect the new coach.
Right.
But I now there was another gentleman that we played with that has a pretty good resume as far as head coaching in the state of Texas and other places.
I would say that the resume is not pretty good. I think it's kind of more than pretty good because he's been successful and has got head coach experience and
the guy,
you got to look at where it's at in Texas.
He didn't even get a interview. Like,
as far as what I'm heard, he didn't even get an interview.
So I don't know. I don't know. But again, what I will say is that the Marietta and the culture that we grew up in is not exactly the same in 2025.
Oh, brother, it's definitely.
And you take that how you want to take that, people. I'm not talking bad. I'm not even talking good. I'm in the gray area. I will support Marietta football because that's our alma mater. And whether they good or bad, like when they won state with Harrison Bailey and those guys, Eric Gilbert, and I was cheering like everybody else. But I was out there cheering just like the rest of them. But the direction of the program. I just hope no matter who's the head coach, because they made their decision. So no matter who's the head coach, I just hope he's able to turn the program around. I'm not trying to throw shade on that gentleman or any of the ones who uh, applied for the position and got passed over for whatever reason. I just kind of leave it. I don't know. I'm just kind of.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why this man was voted most friendliest in high school.
Yeah.
So anyway, Cameron Duke is the new head coach's name. We'll just go ahead and say this. Marietta, nothing is like it always is. Nothing is the same right now, 30 years ago, 28 years ago, whatever. Nothing's the same. And Marietta is not the same place we grew up in. The culture is not the same. The culture is so far away.
Right.
And the only thing that we all have in common now is we all went to school there, and that's about it.
Right.
Everything else has changed. I would love to see one of those two guys get a chance to run their program. And I'm gonna just say that. I would love to see that. I don't want to see the team not be able to be successful just because we want to be selfish and have who we want as coach.
Right.
There was a lot of rumors and stuff about what happened to Coach Friday when he exited, and it just hasn't been the same since. R.I.P. to one of the greatest. You can't even call him a football coach. One of the greatest human beings that's ever walked the face of this earth, Coach James Friday Richards. And we will be doing a show coming up pretty soon. It's not going to be right around the corner, but it might be 2 streets and one block up. We are going to do a Marietta football episode and have a couple of guests, and we are going to do a Coach James Friday Richards episode. So definitely tune into that. But yeah, man, like I say, 2 of the guys, it's a couple of names going around, but I see 2 of them that that I really think, and one kind of more than the other because of the experience and everything. I just love to see what would happen if those guys got a chance, if they got the keys for just to get a chance.
Right.
I mean, one's been there for over 20 years, bro. Over 20 years. Another gentleman we talking about been coaching in Florida, Texas, and has been successful and has got a resume.
Didn't even get an interview, dog.
Didn't even get an interview. And that right there shows you how much far away from tradition we have gotten over there.
Right.
And that's sad. And it's sad, bro. I mean, the last game I went to, they didn't even come down by Ben. They came down, got on the field by the band.
Damn.
And I mean, I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? So
how they do that?
I don't know. I don't know if it was a one-time thing, but I know where Ben was, where we could walk on that field and touch Coach Wilkins, his statue or whatever. Right. They came from the opposite end where the weight room used to be.
How do they? So they just walk through the.
I don't know. You asking the wrong one. This one right here don't know.
Oh.
So, but maybe we'll talk about that some more as the time goes on. It's like I say, it's been some controversial stuff been said, and people want answers. So we'll see if anything happens out of that. And we'll cover it on here because we do have some followers and listeners who did go to school there. And plus, that's our school, so we're going to talk about it. Plus, it's our show. Absolutely. We're going to talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about. So,
damn, skip it.
So, but this is Welcome to Wrestling, and we just welcome to wrestling. So let's jump into it. Part 2, The Four Horsemen, 1993 to 1999, the demise of the Horsemen in 99. We ended up last time with the last lineup that was in 91. Excuse me, that Flair in Double A, Barry, Sid Vicious. Sid Vicious went to WWE or WWF at the time. Flair went to WWF at the time. This was that whole Jim Herd era. And they wanted to change Flair's name and do all this stupid stuff.
Spartacus and all this bull.
Right.
Yeah.
Made him cut his hair and all that stuff. And he got fired, goes to the bigger company, and they put him on top of the bigger company. So, you know, that'll tell you everything you need to know about him and could he still draw money.
Right.
So, and Wyndham and Double A, they both stayed in WCW, went their opposite ways or whatever. And Double A went with the Dangerous Alliance. So we're back at 93. 93. Matter of fact, it's May of 93. And Flair's back from WWF. Worked out a 2-year contract. He's back. Him and Double A promised at Slamboree that it'd be a Horseman reunion. So they had Double A come back. They had Flair back. And they thought Tully was going to be able to come back. And they couldn't get a deal done. And it was talk about failed drug tests and stuff like that. And now we're not making up rumors or anything. Everything we talk about, we've read or heard. We're just not making up stuff. So, and we don't know the actual story because, yeah, we wasn't there. But we're just reading talking about what we read, what we've heard, what we've seen in thousands and thousands of hours of shoot interviews and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Tully didn't work out. So they bring in Paul Roma. And that's your Paul Roma. That's your lineup in 1993 of May. You got the Nature Boy Ric Flair, you got the Enforcer Double A Arn Anderson, and you got Pretty Paul Roma. Now you had Ole in there at Slamboree and at the Flair for the Gold, and he was going to be look more like a manager part, but that was his last time being seen was on Flair for the Gold. So,
you know what I'm thinking about, dog? I can't help but to think about the Shockmaster. At that Flair for Gold, man.
Bro.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so what's today's date? January 19th. All right, we'll go ahead and put that in the archives. It's the only time the Shockmaster gets mentioned on the Welcome to Wrestling.
That's one of the funniest moments ever, though.
Right.
Oh, man.
So, yeah. Anyway. So we got this lineup, and it lasted about 7 months. And everybody pretty much considers this the weakest lineup to be a Horseman faction. Every lineup they've had, every era they had, this is the weakest. And it was ended pretty quickly. For one, Paul Roma just wasn't working with them, and he was tagging with Eric Watts, ended up turning on Eric Watts and joined Paul Orndorff's group when they were Pretty Wonderful.
Pretty Wonderful.
Right. And Double A is not in the picture for a little while. And that is because of the Sid Vicious stabbing incident. So that's what broke this group up.
Right.
So that was 93. So we go to 95. Flair and Arn are back into being heels. And they're feuding with Vader against Hogan and Savage. Vader lost to Hogan in the steel cage match at Bash at the Beach. And Flair entered the ring, started getting in his face, yelling at him and something. And Vader attacked Flair, and Arn came to his rescue. And that's when they went to Clash of the Champions 31. And it was Flair and Arn against Vader. And that was you remember that?
Yeah.
It was I think it was a handicap match. You remember
I
that?
don't remember. I don't remember that vividly.
Okay,
As far
but
as like
that's
a
when
handicap
Flair.
match.
That was when Flair and Anderson and Double A were going back and forth and bickering at each other, and that's
Right.
when they ended up losing. And they play. And that's when Double A was talking about he had to do Flair's dirty work all the time.
Right. Right.
And so that's when we got the fall brawl, and we finally get to see Double A and Ric Flair wrestle each other.
Right. Right.
And Double A ends up beating Flair with the help of Flying Brian Pillman. All right.
Right.
So then you got Double A and Flying Brian. And that's when Flair goes to who to ask for help? Sting. Sting is, I don't trust you, but I'm there for you.
Right.
Now, let's just get off topic for a second, because I can't help but to mention it, and we'll get right back to it. Sting and Flair is WCW.
Absolutely. One of the greatest wrestling rivalries ever.
From 1988 till 2001, they were either against each other or Flair's turning on him at some point.
I mean, they had the last match on Nitro history.
Right. And as they went from Jim Crockett Promotions on TBS to WCW on TBS to Nitro and feuded the whole time.
Right.
3 decades.
Right.
So I just, you got to mention that, I think, anyway.
Absolutely.
So Flair jumps on Sting. Hey, I need your help. I need a tag team partner against Double A and Flying Brian. Flying Brian is starting to lean into the loose cannon gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
And is starting to wear all the jewelry and stuff. And this is after the Hollywood Blondes, which I loved.
Yeah, Oh, they was dope.
And at this point in time, you know, we were still young. This is like 14, 15.
Right.
When the Hollywood Blondes. So, but I loved them. I thought it was hilarious. Them coming out there doing this, you know what I'm saying? But so it's Sting and Flair against Pillman and Double A. Sting's in his Flair's in his khakis. Sting starts out the match. Goes to tag Flair. Flair gets in, does a dance, does a strut, turns around and nails Sting. And then we have our second lineup of the 90s. Because they added Benoit, you got Pillman, Flair, Chris Benoit, and Double A.
Which, you know what? That kind of remind me, especially really just thinking about it, that kind of remind me of Evolution. You know, where you have Flair and Double A, you know, I guess that's like Triple H and Flair, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
2 established guys.
Yeah.
Now, Benoit and Pillman was around. They weren't like brand new like Randy and Batista was.
Right.
But they were still 2 young lions that they was giving them a rub.
Right. But Pillman had been around a long time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, and Benoit really been around long. That's what I'm saying. But
but not in WCW. Like he was still new in WCW.
They wasn't superstars though.
Right.
You know. And really, if you really think about it, especially in part 2 of this Horseman series, as far as the second part, that's my favorite lineup.
Mm-hmm.
This one right here.
Okay. All right. Well, so they feuded with Hogan, Savage, Sting, and Luger. And then Flair brought back Woman as his valet and Miss Elizabeth.
Right.
And of course, Miss Elizabeth joins the NWO, and Woman leaves the group, leaves WCW in '97, and is pretty much out of the wrestling picture.
Right.
She did a little bit of stuff in ECW, but that was it. So Pillman started doing the feuding with Kevin Sullivan at the time. And the Dungeon of Doom.
Right.
And if you remember, they were trying to coexist.
Right.
The Horsemen and Dungeon of Doom, and they had that promo where Double A says, "We're not afraid of you, but we respect you."
Right.
And that's when Pillman starts yelling, "You hear that? Do you hear that? We're not afraid of anybody." And then Double A slaps him. "I told you to keep your mouth shut."
Right. Right. He like ogre, you know.
Right.
I'll tell the whole world.
Right. But that was also when Kevin Sullivan was the booker.
Right.
And they were supposed to have that strap match.
Right.
Do you remember that?
I respect you,
Booker man.
Booker
And
man.
walked out and left and went to the ECW.
And okay, let's break that down because, of course, we wrestling fans, but we hear the terminology. So people who knows what a booker is, when he said that, that's like, what? Because even though we know now that Kevin Sullivan was the actual booker,
yeah,
we probably didn't know that then.
Oh, hell no.
You know what I mean? So
no, you didn't know that.
You talk about kayfabe,
right.
like that was a straight shoot. You
Yeah.
know, and it's like,
yeah.
What the hell is he talking about?
And it was, and if you remember, when Pillman showed up in ECW, he was doing this because it was like, he was still a horseman,
right? Right.
And now they're, now it's just it's just three of them without him,
right?
So, but man, talk about for what a talent Pillman was too, creative. I mean, innovative as far as the high flying stuff early. Him and the Z-Man, they were a good tag team, dog.
Right.
And and of course, like with him in the Hollywood, the stuff he did with Juice and Thunder Liger. And I'm talking about back when he was wearing the Cincinnati Bengal tights.
Right.
Yeah. But the stuff he did with Juice and Thunder Liger, and of course, just, RIP left us way too soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And of course, that ankle injury really messed him up,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
he was never the same in the ring, and then they got on those allegedly got on
the pills and stuff.
Pills and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you got to just, that's and how many times have you heard that story in wrestling?
Facts.
Way too many.
Right.
Yeah. So, the Horsemen, they joined forces with the Dungeon of Doom. Now it's just three of them. It's Benoit, Flair, and Double A. They taking on Hogan and Savage and Hogan's group.
Right.
And then they start to feud with the Dungeon of Doom. So that's when Benoit and Kevin Sullivan start feuding.
Right.
And this is gonna be it's gonna be a reoccurring thing right after this when we get a little bit farther.
Right.
But a woman who was real life with Kevin Sullivan. And so she started playing the storyline with Chris Benoit, and then they end up getting together. Now we all know the end story, but we're just talking about now. And
yeah, they say he pretty much booked his own divorce.
Yeah. And
crazy.
Right. So and it's crazy and you can talk about that a couple times with Triple H and Stephanie.
True.
That was just supposed to be a storyline.
True.
They end up getting married for real.
Right.
And then we'll get into it and we'll get into it shortly here in a minute. So we go to June of '96 when you had Flair and Double A are wrestling Kevin Green and Steve Mongo McMichael. Kevin Green from the Carolina Panthers.
Right.
Mongo from the great 85 Bears.
One of the best defenses ever in NFL history.
Oh, bro. Talk about defense. You talking about him playing D-line, William Perry. Man, the funniest thing about William, I used to love the Freds. But when he first got to the league, when they started making his shirts with them tails on them.
Yeah.
To cover the crack up.
Yeah.
Bro, I used to be hilarious, dog. I love Fridge, though.
What did Matthew McConaughey say? Refrigerator Perry is not his real name. In that commercial.
Right.
With the yeah.
So
Yeah.
we got the match starts off and you got Woman and Miss Elizabeth out there. Then you got Deborah out there, who was Mongo's wife.
Right.
Woman and Miss Elizabeth run Deborah back during the match. Deborah comes back with the briefcase, the Halliburton that everybody used to carry back in the day.
Right.
And she gave it to Mongo. Mongo opened it up and had a Four Horsemen t-shirt in it, a bunch of cash.
Right.
So he put on the shirt and then turned on to Kevin Green. And then we got Chris Benoit, Double A, Steve Mongo McMichael, and the Nature Boy. Now, I'm just gonna tell you this.
Okay.
His football career was way over. This is 10 years after him winning Super Bowl.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
For him to be able to pick up wrestling like he did to a certain extent is amazing in itself. And he had the US, he got US title. He wasn't the greatest, but he wasn't the worst either.
Yeah.
But he was close. His football career definitely outshines his wrestling career.
No doubt. Well, I mean, I kind of like you as far as, again, we talked about this before from the beginning. Mm-hmm. We both respect anybody who out there doing it. I don't care if you good or bad. If you out there taking those bumps, after train and take those bumps, and I much respect to Mongo and Michael as far as that. But I can't lie, bro. Just keep me real. Far as this horseman, and we went from the first part, 85 to 91, 93, 99. Paul Roma, I would say, was the worst horseman.
Oh yeah.
But Mongo to me was number 2.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Okay.
Yeah, because his promos were terrible. And he used to say some of the lamest stuff.
Oh man.
But he was a football guy and he made it in wrestling a little bit. So I mean, hats off to him, much respect to him. Just was inducted in the NFL Hall of Fame.
They say he's a good dude too, though, man. Like, we have to point that out too.
Yeah.
And, no matter what how they was, and as far as how they was booked and how they portrayed on the screen, you hear a lot of good things, especially from Nate and even his former teammates. So like when he got ill and all that, like a lot of people really happy for him that he was able to be inducted to the NFL Hall of Fame. But when I think of him as far as wrestling, I think of that damn Letterman jacket they used to always wear. the Bears one, the black one. Oh man.
Yeah, bro. You definitely would rather remember him as a football player than than a wrestler. But like you say, good guy. When he was inducted, so many of his old teammates and different guys and everybody, they show pictures of people showing up at his house because he is bedridden with being sick and everything, and he's still holding on. But much love to him and prayers to him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's where we're at. And then of course you have the NWO forums. And then you still got them as a horseman, Sting and Luger. asked Flair and Double A to join with them so they can fight off the Horsemen. Then Miss Elizabeth joins the NWO, goes back with Macho. And you've got Jeff Jarrett comes back over from WWE.
Right.
And wants to be a horseman.
Right.
Now, some people say he's a horseman. I know in Flair's book, which I've read 2 books cover to cover my whole entire life. I'm not ashamed to say that. And the Ric Flair biography is one of them. So,
okay.
But he did say that Double A would tell you he was not a horseman. And they said in the 80s and early 90s, they were allowed to pick who the horsemen were.
Okay.
And then they started being told who was going to be in there, starting off with Paul Roma and stuff like that. So I don't really think anybody wanted to be Jeff Jarrett at that time, wanted to be a horseman, except for, of course, that was a storyline. So, he was like a hang around, and then he started feuding with Mongo about Deborah. So again, another storyline. And if you remember, she ended up leaving with Jeff Jarrett to go back when he went back to WWE.
Right.
Yeah. And then she was with Stone Cold, and you know what I'm saying? So
Deborah wasn't playing no games, was she?
Oh no,
she was taking it from the rattlesnake and everybody, man.
Right. So, but yeah, the thing about that, Jeff Jarrett was never a horseman. He was almost like he was not even on the level that Luger was, like a hang around at first. How Luger started just being an associate. He wasn't even an associate. So he wanted to be.
Right.
So.
Right.
All right. 1997. And Double A has a neck injury and retires from wrestling. And it was a big deal as far as, he came out, talked to the crowd, and then he called out Kurt Hennig and offered him his spot as the enforcer.
Not just any spot. Not just any
spot.
But his spot.
And Kurt Hennig came out, and Flair, and we laugh and stuff about Flair being a crier and everything, but you really haven't seen all that up to this. Right. He cries at the drop of a hat now when people give him respect and everything, which is cool. He's a sensitive guy to a certain extent, but you really didn't see all that emotions back then. And I mean, he was tore up. That's how you knew it was so real. So Double A retires. Remember his hand was like this, like there wasn't he was done.
Right.
And he might have had a little bit of gas left in the tank, but I mean, his career was winding down anyway.
Right.
But nobody wants to go out like that at anything. You want to go out the way you want to go out.
Right.
So the very next week, the NWO comes out. And you had Conan dressed like Mongo. You had X-Pac dressed like Flair. And you had Kevin Nash dressed like Double A. And Buff Bagwell is Kurt Hennig.
Right.
And I mean, it's probably at that time, watching it live was probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
All right, let me ask you a quick question then.
All right.
Getting off topic with it, between that parody and when DX was the Nation, which one was funny?
Okay. Now, let's just say this. because one of those, you could do the Four Horsemen one again. You could
Yeah,
never do the DX one ever again,
that's true.
especially at this day and age,
That's true. That's
because
true.
they went all the way. Blackface.
Oh man, yeah.
Man, when Billy
I,
Gunn came out there as the Godfather, pimps up, hoes down, West Side.
I'm okay. Great point you made because they definitely couldn't do the DH1 again, especially not in
But
2025.
okay, but I
But
will say the Horseman was the funniest one because the first time that was done.
yeah, I agree. Uh,
Yeah,
I don't know, man. It's messed up looking back at it because of you hear the backstories and you hear how Arn was wife was mad and you hear Nasher, we got the cooler from Arn's car, but
right.
it,
So let's just break it down for the fans that don't know what we're talking about.
right.
So when they replayed the retirement speech, but came out there when Kevin Nash came out dressed like Arn Anderson, he had a cooler of beer that he carried to the ring, and just insinuating that he drinks a lot.
Right,
And then
right.
they were talking about the Horsemen only got fat women and all kinds of stuff. And I mean, it was funny, but from what we heard, when Double A went to the back, his wife called.
Yeah,
It was like he made you look like a loser, like a drunk.
like a drunk. Yeah,
Yeah, and they said they got the cooler from Double A's car. Like
yeah.
that was actually his cooler that they took to the ring.
Right,
And
right.
he had his stomach all poked out, and he was like,
He had them
so
glasses.
man,
Oh man.
so War Games. When Kurt Hennig was on that side and made it in, he came in there with the handcuffs. Everybody got handcuffed to the cage, and they slammed Ric Flair's head into the cage.
They basically did a recreation of Christmas Day, 1982,
With
when
Terry Gordy.
yeah,
Yeah,
with Terry Gordy and which ironically Flair was in that match with Kerry
right.
Von Erich, and of course for those who don't know, Gordy slammed the cage door in Kerry Von Erich's head. Very gruesome spot. Uh, I mean, look real like how they faked that one.
Right.
So
Yeah,
to
it
start
was
one of
pretty
the
nasty.
yeah. So when it happened to Flair,
Mm.
they yeah that was a sight to see.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So after that, Flair disbanded the Horsemen in September of '97. And I remember they did it over the phone because he wasn't there. So that whole year,
right,
from September of '97 all the way to September of '98, Flair's been fired. Flair ain't been seen on TV. Him and Bischoff had a legit beef,
right.
but everybody wanted Flair to come back. Everybody wanted Flair to come back. So that's when everybody was asking Double A to reform the Horsemen. I won't do it. I won't do it. And then they all came out in them tuxedos,
Hmm.
and Double A came out first. And the first thing he remember what he said: "Be careful what you wish for." And
Right.
you know, you talk about Double A and him not even being. He was so good on the mic and so good in the ring. That spine buster, the gourd buster, his
Yeah,
DDT. He got top 5 DDT doing DDT out of anybody. He's top 5.
Double A is a gem. And like you said, great talker. Like even now, I like listening to him talk on his podcast with Conrad.
Mhm.
Like him telling the stories. Like sometimes he can really tell vivid stories about a match that happened in Starrcade '85. You
Right.
know, I will wrestle Italian Stallion in
Right.
Albany, Georgia. It's like,
In front of 14 people.
dude, yeah. But even just when you think of the Four Horsemen, there's two constants, right?
Yeah.
And we both know it's Ric Flair and Double A.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's two guys, but that's the Four Horsemen to me.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, they had different variations, but Double A and Ric Flair are the Four Horsemen.
Absolutely.
You won't see one without the other.
Yeah. So we finally get on Nitro. Double A says, be careful what you wish for. Brings out Mongo, brings out Dean Malenko, brings out Chris Benoit. And then he starts talking on. Then he starts, oh, what a goof.
Right.
What a goof. My God, I forgot the fourth horseman. And Flair comes out there. Crowd goes crazy.
Right.
And then he gets in the ring, and that's when he's like, I'm embarrassed of how emotional he got. He was saying,
right.
He was like, I'm almost embarrassed. And then he cut the meanest promo air. Fire me? I'm already fired.
Right.
And he cut it on Benoit, and they went on to, of course, and they were faces again at this time, and they feuded with the NWO and Eric Bischoff.
Right.
And that lasted for a whole year, or a couple months anyway, into '99. And they end up turning heel again. Mongo leaves the company. And they was just Malenko, Benoit, Flair, and Arn as the manager. And then Charles Robinson, Lil Nate.
Yeah.
And of course they feuded with that's when Flair was president, and they had David Flair in their song. But Malenko and Benoit, they leave.
They part of the Radicals.
Right. And it's pretty much over then. The Flair does this and does that. Then he's the president, feuds with Shane Douglas. And then by that time, WCW's been purchased. And like we talked about earlier, Sting and Flair fought on the very last Nitro. Now, they've had some reunions, the Four Horsemen have. They were there as far as Flair's retirement on Nitro. You had Tully, Barry Windham, Double A, and JJ. Right, y'all Raw, my bad. You always got to correct somebody. 2009 was the first time the original Four Horsemen had been together. And they did an appearance at the NWA Legends Fan Fest. And this is with Ole, Flair, Tully, and Double A and JJ together. And this is the first time they had all been together in years. And I want to say that I've heard a couple of times that Ole and Flair haven't even talked to each other in years before this happened. I was there. It was my first fan fest. And one of the coolest experiences I've ever been a part of as far as seeing them. And of course, they had Barry Windham there too as an alternate. You know what I mean? So, and I think that's everybody's favorite lineup because he's involved in everything. That's the one they put in the Hall of Fame. You know, he's always involved, and he should be. So, a couple of groups that came because of the Horsemen, and you can really compare it to the Horsemen. We talked about it earlier, Evolution. With, you had two up-and-coming guys, two technical wrestlers. Then you had Triple H, and then you had the ultimate greatest of all-time veteran in Flair.
Right.
Then you had the Extreme Horsemen from MLW with Steve Corino. And I believe it actually was created in Dusty Rhodes' Turnbuckle Wrestling organization. with Steve Corino and C.W. Anderson, Justin Credible, and Simon Diamond. And they even have J.J. Dillon manage them a couple of times.
Just the coolest.
He's just incredible.
Simon Diamond.
Right. Then you have four. Go ahead.
I wanted to touch on Dean Malenko for a second.
Go ahead. Absolutely.
I know he was kind of like at the end.
The Iceman,
at the end of that run. And his moniker is the Iceman. So he wasn't the promo guy.
Right.
Great wrestler. I think he could have been a good horseman. They had some longevity.
Right.
Similar to Benoit, where they really wasn't talkers.
Right.
But they both was stone cold, no pun intended. Nothing against Austin. But like I said, the Iceman, his whole moniker, Matt Russell, man of 1,000 holds.
Mm-hmm.
Dean Malenko he was very underrated, but wasn't a big guy. So of course, in the wrestling business, especially at that time, medium-sized guys starting to get love. But Dean Malenko was like really a cruiserweight, like really, like he probably weighed 200 pounds.
Right.
So he won like the United States title and stuff like that, but it never got bigger than that. He was mainly a cruiserweight champion or like whatever they had at that time. But I just want to show him some love because even though he was caught the tail end of the Horseman, he really didn't have a real Horseman run. The guy is very underrated.
Absolutely.
Very underrated.
Yeah. His career was cut off early too, but he's been backstage guy for years and years and years and years, agent and all that stuff. So, and he's what, second or third generation wrestler as well.
Right.
And yeah. So
big ECW guy.
Yeah.
We mentioned being part of Radicals, which for those of you who don't know, the Radicals is a group of 4 wrestlers from WCW that was hired by WWE, and the 4 was the late great Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, rest in peace, Chris Benoit. Hey, it is what it is, bro. I'm not going there. We ain't talking about what's gonna happen outside the ring.
You're trying to get us kicked off the air already?
No, straight up.
No, I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, I know. But and then of course
Perry Saturn,
Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn.
Yeah.
Which of course their careers all went different directions when they was in WWE.
Yeah.
But we talked about the Horsemen, especially with the third variation with Barry Windham, when we were saying that that's arguably one of the greatest groups of technical wrestlers. Well,
yeah, that could really get us a run for their money. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So shout out to them for that reason.
You want to talk about a group of technical wrestlers, so it was another group that you could base this group off the Horsemen, and that was Fortune.
Right.
And you talk about some talent. AJ Styles, you had Desmond Wolfe, you had Beer Money Incorporated, which was James Storm, Robert Roode. Then you had Kazarian.
For those of you who don't know who Desmond Wolfe is, that's Nigel McGuinness, who was he had a huge run with Ring of Honor and of course other promotions as well.
Yeah. Yeah. But that was in TNA Impact. But that you talk about a talented group. All in their primes. All in their prime.
Absolutely. Well, you know how we are about AJ Styles, though. So that's a whole other story for another day,
Right.
But we big AJ fans. I can speak for him on this one too. Shout out AJ Styles, by the way.
Then you got the 4 horsewomen.
Right.
Go on and break that lineup out.
Okay. Well, the 4 horsewomen, first of all, they all came up in NXT.
Right.
Which, in my opinion, women's wrestling came a long way from Moolah and Wendy Richter and all the way up to Sherry Martell, Medusa Michelli, or Alondra Blade, whatever you want to call her. And there's a few more in between. But then it kind of took a period, especially Attitude Era, when it was just a lot of TNA.
Right.
And they was getting these models or these women, and they wasn't really doing wrestling no more. It was more bra and panties matches, stuff
Yeah.
like that. Just really eye candy. And then that little era where Trish and Lita kind of really, they was, to my opinion, they was kind of really the first ones that really bridged the gap of, okay, they're beautiful, but they can go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so Trish and Lita, shout out to both of them because they kind of really helped turn that corner. Then, of course, you end up with the Bellas and Mickey James,
Yeah.
which is one of my favorites, and Victoria, Ivory, Jackie. They started to come with it. China, even though I don't really consider her a women's wrestler, but
Yeah.
she's a woman.
Yeah.
But then this four horsewomen you talking about. To me, this was the group that really kicked the door down. And that
Yeah.
consists
Oh,
of
yeah.
Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, who now goes by Mercedes Moné in
Yeah.
AEW now, and Bayley. And
Right.
really, man, they I tell you what, as far as that group, now Bayley did get called up when the other three did. But that triple threat match that they had at WrestleMania 32, when Snoop came out to the ring with Sasha, because that's his cousin.
Mm-hmm.
Nature's, of course, obviously out there with Charlotte. When Charlotte did the moonsault, man, that they stole the show.
Oh, yeah.
That night.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that was really the real break. Because that was the first night they had the women's title, like with the red, because it wasn't called the Divas Championship no more.
Yeah.
And what a great night to do that, because their performance in that match really started the women's, what they call it, evolution.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
now you did have you had two groups called the Four Horsewomen.
That's true.
Then you had Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler,
right,
Jasmine Duke, and Marina Shafir.
That's true.
And remember, they were all at ringside WrestleMania 31.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I thought that was cool. But
that's true.
Yeah. So like we said, and that's just our little small breakdown of the things we remember and went over as far as the Horsemen. We said there were so many lineups, but it really you had the originals. You had Double A, Flair, Tully, Ole. Then you had Luger, Barry Windham, Sting, Sid Vicious, Paul Roma, Brian Pillman, Chris Benoit, Mongo, Kurt Hennig for a month, and Dean Malenko. But that Double A and Flair, they're always in the picture. As long as there was the Horsemen, they were in the picture.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
and I will say this. Of course, there are a lot of different factions or stables or whatever in the wrestling business, because back in the territory days where Skandar Akbar or the Heenan family, like, managers kind of had a stable. So it was a group of they was all in cahoots because Jimmy Hart's our manager, but they didn't do everything together. The Horsemen was really the first group where it was just kind of like, okay, we riding in limousines together, we partying together,
right,
and out of all the groups, whether they was based to be like the Horsemen or even something as chaos as DX and NWO, I would have to say that my favorite will always be the Four Horsemen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing about it was you got to go back to the beginning. It was a group that was formed to make sure the champion stayed the champion.
Right.
As long as he got paid, we all got paid.
We all got paid.
Right. And then they started doing things for themselves, but they never went after that championship. They never went against the top guy. And you know, like a lot of these groups, well, there's not a leader. Well, you knew who the leader was.
Absolutely.
You knew who the top guy was, and you knew what everybody else's job was. And that was to make sure he left with that title no matter what.
That's what got Randy Orton kicked out of Evolution.
Absolutely.
You know, he didn't play by the rules.
Right. But yeah, you just don't do it, especially in the heel faction.
Right.
But hey, man, this has been Welcome to Wrestling. That was part 2 of the Horsemen. We do remember we got Saturday night's main event coming up. We got the Royal Rumble coming up. We'll be covering those closely. We will be having another deep dive coming next week for you. And we'll be talking about who won the national championship. We'll probably talk about who the last 4 teams it is in the playoffs for the NFL. And we'll go into our next deep dive. Again, just to mention again, we are on Spotify now. We are on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. Do all those things. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank y'all for subscribing, for commenting, for liking. Do all that. If you want to be a part of the show, if you have a topic you want us to discuss, if you have any questions, hit us up. W2wrasslin@gmail.com. That's W2wrasslin@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook at Welcome to Wrestling. And again, we're on Spotify and on YouTube. But again, this is Welcome to Wrestling. We'll see you guys next week. Welcome to Wrestling.
Welcome to Wrestling.
Welcome to Wrestling, Chetty Bobby. Welcome to Wrestling with Big E and the POT. Podcast tag champs of the whole world, slamming like a DDT. Got it like just like a figure 4. Hulk Hogan, all they do is flex. Talking wrestling while they get the dough. Off the top like a superplex. Think they letting up? Hell no. Dusty Rose with the elbow. From the corner like a stinging splash. Straight to the face, I know you felt those. Hey, y'all crying out for help though. Rising up like the dead man. About to go upside your head like Stone Cold with the bedpan. Bottom line, if you want the facts, welcome to Wrestling's where you need to be. Chetty Bobby, this show improved like John Cena, you ain't seeing me. Bottom line, if you want the facts, welcome to Wrestling's where you need to be. Chetty Bobby, this show improved like John Cena, you ain't seeing me.